The Vision Board Podcast, hosted by Jonny Stofko and Tristan Cannell.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 4 of the Vision Board Podcast. I'm Tristan Cannell, and I've got Jonny live from Bali. Jonny, what up, man?
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? How you doing back home?
We're all good back here. Sydney's actually quite nice. It's Monday today. It's a beautiful Monday. It's around lunchtime here on Monday. I've just finished in the gym, and me and Jonny thought we'll just give it a bit of a crack today because he's been away for a few days, and I've been pretty jealous of all these photos he keeps throwing up. Looks pretty nice over there in Bali. Tell everyone about Bali at the moment, man.
Yeah, man. So I've never been to Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and it's beautiful. I like to focus on the positive. So the weather has been beautiful. The people have been amazing. It's one of those things that you definitely know you're in a third world country, but I feel that's the beauty of it all, embracing that.
Yeah, I think so as well, man. Like, I love to travel today. We're going to be focusing a lot on travel and the importance of travel. We're going to be both speaking about some good places we've been to and some good experiences. So before that, as always, I just want a massive shout out to our sponsors. Jonny, take it away, man.
Yeah, so the first company sponsoring this version of the podcast is The Organic Trainer. You can check them out at www.theorganictrainer.com. What these guys do, they're a exercise teen recovery company, taking pride in using all natural and organic ingredients. You'll find a couple different flavors, a hibiscus flavor, a chamomile flavor. Give those guys a glance at their website. Also, the second business checking us out for this episode is Jack Rabbit Slim's Barbershop. If you're living in the Sydney area, King's Cross, Potts Point, call to make an appointment to talk and see Dre. He'll give you the cut you need and send you on your way feeling super great about yourself. Other than that, let's kick this Bali version episode off in Sao. What's up, my man?
Yeah, buddy. I actually went to Bali a couple of years ago for my cousin's birthday. I had an amazing time there. That's one of the best places you can go. You definitely get a lot of value for your money as well. But you're staying in a villa at the moment, are you, with some of your boys?
Yeah, so basically there's some friends of mine from Sydney who we traveled with, and then some friends of theirs met us, some who live in London, and we have a villa. Fortunate enough to have a woman named Made. She's an amazing Balinese woman. She comes every morning, cooks for us, cleans for us. Very, like you said, you get for what you pay for, but it's interesting because amongst all these fine things, you really get to see a lot of things that remind you, hey, this still is a third world country, and you need to respect that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it must open your eyes, but being over there, how lucky we are in Australia to live the way we do with the quality of life we do have, and it must put a lot in perspective the fact that, like that lady you just did mention, she's probably working for a couple of dollars a day to feed her family, and most of the families are actually living on, $1 a day or $2 a day, and you can get a driver for $10 a day, I think last time we were there, and you just obviously you give them a little bit extra because you want to see people live a good quality of life, but our standard rate for them is quite low.
Like, it hit me, it was pretty fascinating yesterday. I was walking down the beach, started in Seminyak, just walking down the coastline. I was thinking to myself, man, this coastline has looked like this. Now I'm looking into the water. The coastlines look like this forever, hundreds of thousands of years. And the people who lived here have probably never left, which was pretty profound because I'm thinking, I've come and gone and I'll be gone. I'll be able to compare this to another coastline, and it's beautiful. Yeah. But the person who's never left and all they know is this, that perspective is probably going to be a little different.
Yeah, I think so as well. I remember back in April, I went to Mauritius where my parents are born, and that was the first time I'd ever been there. But I met some of their family friends and some of my dad's friends from when he was a young boy. And there was a couple of them that had never left Mauritius in their whole life. And some of them were approaching 70 years old. So that does put in perspective how lucky we are to actually travel. And sometimes I think we all complain sometimes we're on our way and we act like babies and things like that. Like, it does open your eyes that, there's a lot of people out there, they're just like me and you. There's people. And, that's just life that, that was...
We have, and probably our friends do as well. That's, we feel fortunate. When we travel, we see and we know that this is a good thing, and it's pretty much a blessing to be able to even jump on an airplane.
Yeah.
So it's a very humbling experience, and like the vision for this specific episode was exactly that, to talk about how, just interesting it is to be a third world country. These people used to making dollar a day, and we might go back and we might complain about setting an alarm or complain about they use the wrong type of oil to cook with. And here it's like, man, their complaints are probably going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, they've got it so much tougher than we do, man. So it does really open up your eyes. I think that's probably the point I want to get across today, that to be a little bit more aware, and sometimes when you've got issues at home, they aren't really that bad. Sometimes you've got to open your eyes up that other people have got it worse than you.
That's right. You really have, there's a beautiful part about the people here, though, because I like looking at people's expressions. I talk to you about this a lot, like watching people, watching their mannerisms, and just how their face like looking at, we're in a public setting and there's some locals sitting around there. You don't see a lot of stresses they're holding with, at least that I don't, in their demeanor. They seem real relaxed and just pretty perception, just way different. Probably don't. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it's actually pretty amazing that we do apologise about any audio issues at the moment, because we are over FaceTime and we're both filming and recording on our laptops and things like that. But it is amazing to think that you're so far away from me, and it is pretty crystal clear, and I can actually hear you quite well. So that's another thing. Technology has actually brought us all closer. So I think that's probably a big thing for yourself with your family being back in Cleveland. Obviously give you an opportunity still to contact them, when 20 years ago, people that would have left America or even left Australia would have been writing letters or anything like that. Now you can actually, you can speak to your mother on a daily basis if you really wanted to, and it does give you the opportunity to kind of, really, you don't really miss too many people now because you can just see them anytime that you want.
Yeah, I put up a photo the other day, and a lot of my friends on my social media sites are from when I lived in Ohio, my childhood, high school, early college years. And one of my older friends made a pretty profound comment. It was a simple comment. It just said something along the lines about getting out of or escaping where we come from. And it just made me think that, man, that's how people think. I feel like I didn't escape or get out. I just chose to take a different path from the consensus.
Yeah.
And like you said, being connected with you don't so much miss people. You kind of just keep tabs on them, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Do you think it kind of helped you find yourself a little bit by leaving America and kind of traveling and being more?
Yeah. So I left. My journey started at 18 years old. So I left my hometown, and then from there, over the last 12 years, made step by step, ended up in Australia.
Yeah.
And if I were to draw that on the timeline chronologically, and then with each dot representing the city I lived, putting an emotion or how I felt, my mental state in each one of those cities, it's definitely been an evolution process for the better. So I think that attributes my personal growth, and I feel anyone in the position who's listening, flirting with the idea to make that bold move, don't let money or lack thereof hold you back. Just go, because like we always say, you never know when you'll get that opportunity again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're pretty much a prime example of what people should use as a solid, and it's worked out for you, and you took a chance when it could have went absolutely disastrous, but you put your full energy into it, and you just really went after it, and you've learned. You're staying with your girlfriend and her family, learning a different culture. You know what I mean? And you're killing it. So I think it's like Johnny said, it's very, very important that you step outside your comfort zone. Would that be a good way of saying it, Johnny? You reckon?
Yeah. Step outside your comfort zone. I like what Les Brown says about that. Putting yourself in a position to not be able to retreat. And metaphorically speaking, you're not necessarily in a physical battle, but mentally, emotionally, get uncomfortable. And through that being uncomfortable, that's where growth happens. And you'll find what your true potential is.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think to be thrown out of your comfort zone when you do go overseas. I remember back in 2011, I went to Brazil. I went to Rio de Janeiro, and it took me about 4 days to acclimatise there, because the people are a lot different to Sydney, and that's just their culture. In Sydney, people are going to help you out to find where things are. But at the end of the day, in Brazil, they don't speak English as their first language. So it was even hard just even ordering some meals at a restaurant because, you just had two different cultures clashing. But I learnt more, like, over those first 4 days than any other holiday ever. Even just, like, being aware they've got a lot of pickpockets from, obviously, poverty being over there. But that's just part of the actual nation. It is a beautiful country. And like I said, it did throw me definitely out of my comfort zone, but it's definitely something I'm really, really glad I did because I think I'm not scared to travel anymore. That was the first time I was ever scared traveling. And just to get through it, I think was huge in my experience on that one.
I feel that too. How we'll use Rio as your example, as your catalyst, but you traveled as a holiday, but look where that allowed you to do, I think, down the road in terms of traveling for careers, getting out of your comfort zone, having that stability in a very successful brokering career that wasn't fulfilling. And I think maybe the root of you being able to be bold and change careers and start from scratch with the skill set being a little bit more limited than where you're used to, and then being able to take that jump.
Yeah.
I think you could use that on a couple different platforms.
Yeah, I think it's great that you do learn skills when you're away. Like, people think it's just a holidays to get away from work, and I used to be like that. You know what I mean? Like 10 years ago when I first did my first American holiday, I went to get away from work. But now I don't see it as getting away from work. Actually, the trips that I plan, I actually want to, because I've got a lot of friends overseas. If I'm not visiting friends, I would also, like to experience new things and just see how other people do it and learn from other people, because sometimes we get caught back home and just setting in our ways and just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I think, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. I'm currently reading this essay on the levels of happiness, like levels of fun.
Yeah.
And the lady who writes it, she talks about the highest level of fun, the highest level of happiness always contains some sort of suffering. And to piggyback on that, so yesterday we took a boat, so we took a van an hour outside of where we're staying, get on a boat an hour off the coast. I get so violently seasick every time I get on boats. I knew what to expect, so I got sick. But the views and what I got to see and got on the water, and I was sick up until about 3 hours ago, actually. But I know, looking back in hindsight, years down the road, I'm going to look back and be like, man, that was fun.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So I could identify with that article. She really wrote a pretty profound piece. I wish I could remember her name.
Yeah, but that's the same thing. There's always going to be obstacles in your way. So for you, just then, you had an obstacle knowing that you were going to be sick, and you had to make a decision of what you wanted to do. You could have stayed back at the villa and just went in the pool, or you could have went and experienced and seen things that you'd never seen before, and you may never see again. And you chose, you got out of your comfort zone when you could have just stayed back in your little villa. But well, now see that experience that you've got. Now you're taking it forward and it's just kind of put you in a different mindset as well, I think.
Yeah, what drives me too is I'm a pretty emotional guy. I think about my family members. I think about my father, who's no longer with us. I think about my friends who, when I'm like on that boat looking, so there's these two rocks sticking out of the water. They're like these little islands. When we're in the middle of Indonesia, and I'm thinking to myself, man, how many people that I care about that will never see this?
Yeah.
And it's very humbling, and it's just remarkable the world we live in now, what we can and can't do, man. It's a magical time on Earth. So, like, my advice to anyone listening, just go. Experience it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I think so as well. Like, even though it's costly, at the end of the day, you've only got one life and you should just go for it, I feel. Especially you work hard for it and, plan your trips, get your buddies together, even your girlfriend, your wife, share the experience with people as well. I think that's big as well. Like, you've got your close mates there as well, and you've got a good crew. And at the same time, I'm sure that you also travel with other people as well. But that's what I like to do. I like to travel with, a close friend or sometimes with my family, just to experience it all together. I think it brings it a little bit more, makes it more, as much as I enjoyed traveling alone, I think that's also another experience. I've done that a couple of times as well. But to actually share it with someone that's quite close to you and someone that you care about, I think is awesome as well.
There really is a different dynamic, the traveling aspect with a group. I think it really matters who you surround yourself with. So if you listen to our podcast prior, Tristan and I both touched base on choose your friends wisely, because in moments of vulnerability, you're going to want to be around people who bring you up. And then traveling on your own, it really takes a certain, mature level to be able to do that. So I've yet to do that. I've yet to take a step. Well, maybe I have.
Well, you have. Just moving from America to Australia, I guess that's a huge.
Yeah, I guess I have. I guess I envision the whole, that Hollywood movie, The Beach, with DiCaprio, who just leaves America and ends up in Thailand by himself. I guess that's a Hollywood thing, but I guess we're all just traveling through this alone anyway, in some sort of sense or another.
Yeah. But I think it's good. Like we've touched upon already, learning new skills, meeting new people. I think meeting new people is huge. Have you got to interact with some other people outside your group at all?
Yeah. It's so interesting. We met a kid from Switzerland, and he was with a group of people, and we kind of collectively joined forces at this. We had a table at the beach, and it was just, man, it was one of those days where everything was aligned, from the people to conversation to the sunsets. Man, the sunsets I've seen breathtaking. Like a picture they don't do it justice. And as the sun's setting, the water is beautiful. We leave the pool area, we go into the ocean, and then the waves are like 8 feet tall, but beautiful. And the water was so warm. And there's like 13 of us in the water catching waves. And, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's unreal, man. Sounds absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
It's cool. What's so you also went to yoga? You went on a yoga retreat for a couple of days, didn't you?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to do the retreat the 2 day. I ended up taking part in a class, a course basically on the beach, which was awesome. It was a guided, and there were people, it was more locals than tourists there doing it. And fortunate enough, about a 10-minute walk from where I'm staying, did it with a couple of my roommates here, which was an awesome experience. I wanted to do open air beach, Southeast Asia. It was one of those things that was part of my itinerary for going, so I got to do that. And then this morning, before us reconnecting here, I got to take my roommates through a session. So we did a body weight calisthenic type routine, and they're paying for it right now.
Yeah, they're a little bit sore, are they?
I did one of the TK Fitness bodyweight smashes. I don't know if you ever ended up throwing that on your website, but what I did was, if you're listening and TK did a workout for, I think, the traveling businessman, or basically minimal weights you can do maybe in a hotel room. So we did like variations to squats, lunges, planks, did some wall sits, some push-ups. And I did it with them and then coached them through it. It was a good experience to, share that moment too together.
Yeah.
Which is like, you have it. It just made it. It's the little things.
Yeah. That's a good.
I had a really good time.
Yeah, that's awesome that you actually did work out together and you've done some yoga together. It's good that you're actually looking after each other. Like, it's good that I'm sure that you've had a few beers on the beach and just relaxed and just, as you said, watch the sunset, as you have to do. But I think it's all about that balance, finding time to still work out a little bit, interact and finding some other activities. It's not just about drinking. Like, I remember back in my mid-20s, every single holiday was just about drinking. And, there's always going to be boys' weekends when everyone goes away and, gets on the drink for a couple of days. But, like, realistically now, like, my destinations, I do like to pick about learning things, like I said. And it's great that you went to the yoga stuff just to learn it from even it's a different perspective. I know that we've got yoga in the Fitness First studio that we work at, but, it's just coming from a different perspective and learning different things from someone in that country. And it would have been awesome just to learn it from a different person, different country, different point of view sort of thing.
Yeah, so to piggyback on that thought, I'm going to give a shout out to one of my clients, VC, Chopra. He asked me a specific question before I left about what to do when you're on holiday traveling, and it just hit me right now. Basically, the balance. So say you're in an awesome routine with your normal life, your nutrition's on point, you're training 4 to 5 times a week, and you're getting ready to go on that holiday, and you're like, I'm not going to know the city too well, I don't want to go to a gym. What I've done every single day, every morning, I get up at 6. I've gotten up around 6:30 before everyone else has gotten up. I've done my meditative breathing exercises. They're called retentive breathing. You could check out Wim Hof taught me how to do it via his YouTube videos. Basically, right when you get up, 30 deep breaths, deep in, and then a lightly expel out, and that's called retentive breathing. And after 30 of those, you get an endorphin rush high almost. And then I would go into a plank progression routine, listening to some light music. And this is before everyone else has gotten up. And when everyone else gets up, my day is started on the right foot. So find what works for you, and always know that you have options. There's always, right? If you have a space to move in, you can find a little workout to do.
Yeah. How long would that usually take you to do between the breathing and the core strength?
The whole thing. Like, for instance, this morning, some of my roommates went out last night, so they slept in. I chose, and I went to bed early, and I got a long one in. I did about an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes. But on Friday and Saturday, just about 30 minutes. Yeah. 30 to 40 minutes. And it's more or less, go in with the mindset, have the intent of the mindset of workout, not to get like a super good pump, but more mental. So it's the mental side of your conditioning that these little 30-minute workouts will help you on your holiday, clearing your headspace, knowing you started this holiday on the right foot. Because, like you said earlier, you're probably going to have a couple beers, a couple mojitos throughout your day, eat some food you're not normally used to. So if you have that anchor from right when you get up, you've already done that, you've accomplished that, that'll put you on the right step.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%, like we've been saying a lot over these last couple of episodes. We're trying to get that word out of our game, but that is 100% right there.
I like it.
It's actually funny. The influence I've had on a couple of our listeners, to my boys, Andy and Ryan, who were at a party on Saturday, and all they were doing was repeating 100% because now in their vocab after that first episode.
Yeah. So when I changed that to I was giving pep talks 2 days ago. We're getting ready, and some of my roommates are hungover, and I'm giving a pep talk over the pool about, look, I need everyone's 110%. I need your A game. We're leaving it out there tonight. I'm like, we got to leave it all on the field. We're only here for a limited amount of time. I need everybody's A game. And that's with anything. That's if you're training. That's if you're going to, my roommate right now is doing origami on our outdoor patio. It's pretty cool to watch, actually. But I went up to him. I was like, Mark, you better, I need your 110% A game on this origami. Show me the best you've ever done. Potential. It's just funny.
The old origami.
It's true. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. He's one of those dudes that his invisible tool belt is filled with, like, him and I he took me through a Tai Chi session on Friday morning. He does origami. He cooked this amazing seafood dinner on the grill. It just very fortunate to be around people that are that thoughtful.
Yeah.
And
he sounds like he's got a bit of game too. He's cooking. He's got origami.
Yeah. Oh, he does the Tai Chi. He does Kung Fu. And for a living, he works with an architectural firm, but he's still finding his way too. So that's where we feed off of each other.
No, that's cool, man. That's awesome. So where would Bali rank in your favorite places and destinations?
Favorite destinations, I must say, for all it's worth, because I've traveled the United States a fair bit, been to Mexico, been to Canada, which isn't too crazy, but other than Australia, this is my first time in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, and just walking off the airport and seeing those. I know they just built a new airport. I was told by a local, but there's these huge deity warriors of like Roman god signs, but they're not Roman gods. And there's just one sculpture at the airport that's like 100 feet tall. And he's coming out of a wave, and he has a snake and a sword, and just the aesthetics of seeing that and seeing the architecture. It's like I'm in an 80s film. Like Hollywood in the 80s, remember they were obsessed with these like mixed martial arts 80s films, like filming in Southeast Asia,
that's
like
right.
Kickboxer, Karate
I guess Bruce Lee made it pretty big back in the day. So.
Oh, yeah, so I must say, and just for my small amount of time being here, Bali's amazing.
Yeah, it's an awesome place.
It has, it's not, it's, in your third world country, you see a lot of underdeveloped neighborhoods and what gets me is seeing the children, is seeing the younger kids coming up to you and begging. That's culture shock to me, and then I just have to tell myself, hey, this is their life.
Yeah, that's true. Have you been over to the monkey place yet?
Oh, the open air markets?
No, the monkey place where the monkeys there's a big jungle with the monkeys, and they can interact with you, and if you get close enough, they can steal stuff from you.
So we're going to see the elephants in the volcano tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe check it out, because I think it's close to that, because where I went to see the elephants last time, it was close to that. I think just ask any of the locals for the jungle, for the monkey jungle.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. You get it done in like 20 minutes or so too. But it's funny to see all because the monkeys, because you can give them bananas and stuff, but it's funny to see them interact with the humans because they do like to pinch. They're actually quite very, very intelligent. And they like to like pinch your stuff if you're not careful, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so check that out.
They're 99, I mean, their DNA makeup is just like us, minus a percentage or two.
Yeah.
So they have the rotative thumbs, the mannerisms. It's pretty. I'd like to see that and check that out.
Yeah, definitely get yourself hooked up there because it is a good experience. But the elephant riding is pretty cool too, man. But I'm sure you'll have a ball tomorrow, dude.
So what else are you? We were looking ahead for. Did you get to talk to your clients about the feedback on their travel experiences, or did they have to ask you anything about, best places to go, what to do, where to eat? And you said you've been to Mauritius, Rio, Brazil. A couple of my clients, when they saw the episode coming up, they started asking questions. So have you gotten any feedback from them?
I haven't got any feedback, but in terms of where I've been, when I went to Brazil, we stayed at Ipanema Beach. But it was quite an experience. Yeah, it's a cool place. It's right next to well, the beaches are all along, so it's Copacabana Beach and then Ipanema Beach. So between those two, I think apparently there's a little bit more crime at Copacabana, but I never really saw any of that. It was quite a lovely place for me and my mate when we went there. So when we travelled, I stayed in a lot of hostels. So the last few times I travelled, apart from Mauritius, because my whole family was there, we have stayed in a lot of hostels. And that's something I do recommend people do, even if it's just for a couple. If you're in a city for 4 days, I actually would recommend actually going to a hostel. And I think it's a great way to actually meet different travellers and learn from different people. And it's pretty inexpensive, so it's a great way to actually save some money when you're actually travelling. So
there you go. That's great advice.
Yeah, so that's definitely
something I've never done.
Yeah, so sometimes, because I think sometimes you can get stuck in hotels and you get stuck to just your room. But at a hostel, like sometimes you're in a dorm and they always organise activities for everyone to come interact and meet each other. Like I said, they always have food for pretty cheap. They've always got little drinks nights and things like that. And I think it's a great way to meet people, get out of your comfort zone, even sharing a room with a stranger, you know what I mean? Like in a 6-bed dorm sometimes you're in, but that's what traveling's all about. And that's something I would recommend for people to step outside that kind of hotel culture. I think it's a little bit different in Bali because in Bali they don't really have the whole hostel sort of thing happening because there's enough interaction when you're out at the beach and you're at different activities during the day. So when you're somewhere like Bali, I would recommend definitely staying in either a hotel or a villa. But when you're traveling through Europe, even through America, we did the same thing. In Mexico, Mexico's a little bit similar to Bali where they don't really have the hostel culture, but they do have that sort of vibe in the hotel where you can actually meet people as well. So, that'll be tip number one: stay in hostels and chill out, meet people, and put yourself out there. And I think that's the best way for you to grow as a person and to pick up little things from different people. I think, man.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part is being open-minded to learning new things. The lady taking us through the yoga session yesterday was so patient with everybody and calm. It was almost like there were probably 50 of us doing it, and it was almost like she was doing it alone.
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
pretty. Yeah, her delivery.
Can you imagine how cool her life is? Like, she probably meets 50 new people a day.
Yeah.
And has a direct interaction with them. So that'd be pretty cool just to see different faces and hear different stories and find out where everyone's from. It's that's an awesome job that she's got.
Yeah. I definitely, even the guy. So on the boat, these guys the man crewed our boat to go diving. The one drove, the one carried the equipment, and we're passing all these little coves and all these little canals on the way out there. And there's dudes just sitting in wooden crates cracking coconuts.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, he's probably his dad probably used to do that, and their dad probably used to do that. And what a stress-free life.
Yeah.
It's not even their job.
The skills passed on from generation to generation is quite amazing.
How simple.
Even
how easy is life when you simplify it.
But they've got some mad skills too, like when you think about how good they have to be at things like fishing, spearfishing, just little things like that we've got absolutely no idea how to do. And for them, it's just second nature since they were 6 years old.
Yeah, skill sets. I think the point is you can learn something from anyone. Be open to it. Be aware of it. Don't be narrow-minded, and whoever you meet, wherever you are, traveling, in your day job, just know that probably most people that you pass by could teach you something, even if it's the smallest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, everyone be open to meeting new people and just being nice to people and just sharing, like we've spoken about for the first 3 episodes, about sharing information. It's not just about sharing, it's about sharing good things and where to go. It can be anything. Do you know what I mean? How to bench press, how to squat. It doesn't really matter what it is, but it's about not just keeping it to yourself, making other people better by sharing that information.
Yeah, just the idea of having a goal, and think about any goal you've ever had or accomplished, or the goals that you currently have now. They were probably at one point or another in life someone else's goals. So be open to that. Read about them. Look at them. Look how this person did this. Look how this person chose to go about that way. And what you do is, you've really helped me with that, is by listening to different people, especially different industries. I kind of fall in love with very specific, each podcast for as an example, and then you give me a couple different people to listen to outside of my norm, and then I'll learn other things and put all those into my pot, my collective brew, to help me get to where I need to go. And it all comes down to the sharing and the openness to learn different things.
Yeah, there's different pieces of the puzzle that just help you complete your own picture. We're going to be, the way the world is, you're going to take little parts from everyone and create your own sort of, your own personality and your own opportunities. But I think, like you just did touch on, you've got to be open to actually take it, take that information and do something with it. A lot of people take the information and don't do anything with it. So I think it's also about execution. So I think that's a huge thing, to actually execute, take action. And from there, any dream can be fulfilled.
That's right. IVC. Identify, visualize, commit.
Wow.
That's the FIT principle. You have to be able to do that. And you can do that with anything. You could be going for your 1-arm deadlift, or your 1-arm bench, or that job interview, or that first date. You need to visualize. You need to tell yourself what you're going to do. And like you just said, execute, take action, be committed. Don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah, I think that you just touched that. Awesome, man. But before, obviously, this connection is not the best, but before we actually do leave, we saw the fight yesterday, man. Aldo McGregor, that was built up for months and months, and we've both been talking to each other about it for quite a while. So I think it's probably great that we probably have a little chat about it now. It was over in 13 seconds, man. I know you're a bit of a bigger UFC fan than I am, but to think, I think for you had obviously you went down to Melbourne and watched a Holly Holm versus Ronda fight. Then coming back, this is probably the next biggest fight from there. Were you disappointed in the actual result, or did you expect this to happen?
First off, I'll touch base on the Connor fight. The thing that just keeps blowing me away, and I think I'm going to attribute it to bad coaching. It is, once you get to the level of Jose Aldo and Connor and Ronda and Holly, these are all high-level athletes. These are all outliers. These are all the best in the world. The thing that separates these people from the champions are the coaching, the game plan, the plan of attack, also having a plan B. So to see Jose Aldo at the weigh-in 2 nights ago, totally out of his character and emotional, I kind of knew it. You kind of were like, oh my God, it's happening again. Rousey did the same thing. And then when the fight started, watching Aldo, who's a standard classic Muay Thai fighter, flat-footed, he's going to stay and strike you, go totally out of control at McGregor right at the beginning and just get caught. It was just out of character. And you got to think to yourself, what were the coaches telling him? Yeah. And that can't be, that fight can't be fights out of. Yeah.
What did you think of his body language before the fight? You saw McGregor; he was like a caged lion, ready to pounce, and then you saw Aldo, and he was just like a scared man that just got chucked into the cage. You know what I mean? I was amazed a guy of his experience would actually remember. I think sometimes you've spoken to me about my body language before, and I never really understood what you meant until that happened, and it kind of switched on to me what you might have been speaking to me about always, despite your head not always being there, just displaying good body language, because it did radiate that he was always going to get beat from his body language, if you get what I mean by that.
Yeah. Well, first off, to touch base on you, the body language we're talking about, on a day-to-day basis. He's a coach, he's a leader. It could be a very, we get tired sometimes. It was just one of those things. I was like, hey, man, keep those shoulders up. You're a beast. Keep telling yourself that. With Aldo, what it looked like to me is McGregor is a champion because of one reason, not because of his frame. He doesn't have the best genetics. He's not the biggest dude. It's because of his mindset. It's because of his unwillingness to be average. He dares to be bold. He tells himself he is the greatest fighter on the planet, and he believes it. He might not be, but he believes it. He'll get beat. I guarantee he gets beat.
Oh, yeah.
And it's gonna happen. But until he gets beat, it's because everyone else thinks he's the best person too. But there's a kid out there, like we said about Ronda. There's somebody out there who's not buying it, who sees a McGregor and tells himself, "I'm not buying it. I don't care. I'm better than this dude."
Yeah.
And he ties his shoes just like me, and I can beat him.
Yeah.
And that's what Conor has done to every single one of his opponents, and that's what separates him from Jose Aldo. That's what separates him from Mendes. And you know what? I cannot wait. I love the fights. I love the UFC. But did you see the Mendes Frankie Edgar fight?
Yeah, well, they were saying what Edgar won in the first round by knockout. Is that,
Yes.
Yeah.
And dude, Edgar, look at the guys Edgar has beaten his last 5 fights. Edgar has beaten Cub Swanson, perennial champion. He's beaten Mendes. He's beaten. There's a list of 5 of them.
Well, he's been the
Uriah
face of,
Faber, who's
even though I'm not huge into it, like I know because I went to a fight in 2011 and Edgar versus Maynard #2. So he's virtually been the face of that division for a long, long time, man.
That's one of the greatest fights of the featherweight division ever.
Yeah.
You were at the Edgar. You were at that Maynard.
Yeah, that was on New Year's Day. New Year's Day, and he gets dropped 3 times in that first round, and he comes back fighting. And I think obviously that first round was 10-7, so I think he pretty much won every round after that to make it a draw.
He rallied.
Yeah, big time.
He rallied. And then the thing with Edgar too is Edgar's I think 32 now. He's been through the grinder. He's been in deep water before. To where Conor, the deepest water Conor's been in is that takedown, that rear naked against Mendes. I still don't know how he got out of that.
Yeah.
99% of guys get tapped out. So Edgar Edgar has a wrestling mentality. He's from New Jersey. He's a hard-nosed kid. I guarantee Edgar thinks he can beat McGregor. The difference is in the 145-pound division, McGregor's a giant compared to Edgar. Edgar's a little small.
Yeah.
But, in mental capacity, though, Edgar could talk a mean game. He could fight a mean game. He's not going to be intimidated. And I say that'll probably be Conor's last fight.
At that weight. Yeah.
And then I think he's going to go up.
It will be interesting to see if he can keep his mindset, because now, if he wasn't a celebrity before, he's definitely known all around the world. You know what I mean? Like, I know that obviously he's the boy in Ireland, but now he's the boy in America too now.
Yeah. How about the Weidman fight?
Oh, that was pretty crazy. To think that one little mistake pretty much turned that fight. He got cut, and then I don't know.
Wasn't the same guy.
Same thing as we're talking about body language. His body language absolutely dropped, and it just seemed that he just had nothing left.
Yeah, how good, man. You gotta love mixed martial arts. A buddy of mine back home, Eddie, and he lives in Ohio. We're both purists of the sport of boxing. We love boxing, and we were kind of arguing a little bit last night because I kind of gone slowly more towards MMA. And Eddie doesn't like the fact he still likes boxing because he brought up a good point. Boxing, pretty much, the best fighter always wins. You don't get a lot of the flukes. You don't get caught in boxing in terms of you might get armbarred in MMA. You might get caught with a left hook like Aldo did. But so that's his defense. He thinks MMA is a little bit too fluky for him. And I just said they're 2 different sports. You can't even compare the two.
Yeah, they're 2 way different sports. I think the good thing that the MMA do, the best actually fight each other, and they fight each other in their primes. That's a huge thing. Like boxing just hasn't had a huge event. So because back in the 80s they used to dominate when Leonard and Hagler and Duran, they all had that massive rivalry. And then before that there was Ali, there was Foreman, there was Frazier. So it was always carried over and over again. But the problem was that once the 90s happened, Roy Jones had no one to fight him. You had Oscar De La Hoya jump from division to division to division. Tyson, before jail, he was just smoking everyone. He came back. He wasn't the same fighter. Mayweather went through the same thing De La Hoya did. He just cleaned out each division. But there was never really a rival that could actually, try to, Manny Pacquiao was, but they never fought in their prime. So it's a sad thing that boxing's losing its way.
It's exciting to see how this is going to manifest between Canelo and Golovkin.
Yeah.
See if that ever happened.
That's the thing in there, but you've got 2 non-Americans, so it's always going to be very, very hard for them to go to the world and say that these 2 are the best 2 fighters.
Yeah.
But that's a thing. I think boxing's got to learn that the better fighters need to fight. I think UFC can learn a little bit from boxing because I think boxing looks after their top fighters a little bit better than the UFC does. When you think Conor McGregor only got paid $500,000 from last night, and he probably promoted that fight 10 times better than Floyd Mayweather ever could. And Floyd Mayweather got paid $40 million to coast over his last performance. You know.
The thing I wish I could see a little more. I know some fans might not agree with me. I like what Edgar did. I like when fighters. Dude, you're in that cage for one reason. You're fighting because you want to be a champion. I don't like when fighters are getting interviewed by either Rogan or, Ariel will interview some guys sometimes too after fights, and he asks, "Do you want to take this opportunity to call anyone out?" I don't like when fighters say, "No, I'll take whoever they throw at me." I like when a guy gets asked a question, and Edgar goes, "Yeah, I want the winner of Aldo and McGregor. I want to be a champion." That's what you want.
I'm not sure if you heard about it over in Bali, but I know your homegirl fought Paige Van Sant a few months ago. Did you see what happened to Paige on the weekend?
I saw that Rose dominated.
Wow.
I called that.
They actually tried to bring that fight up to think that was going to be Paige's next one to maybe a title shot, but that was quite interesting to see her dominate, because she did fight very well when she fought Alex, obviously. And then there's just something that she got a little bit too cocky, maybe ahead of herself a little bit. You reckon?
Well, the thing is too, Alex was injured. Alex was injured in that fight against Paige. Alex also, she's a natural atom weight. She fights at 105, so she's been fighting since the show, since the Ultimate Fighter House at 115 against all bigger competition. You know who else won was Kaylin. So Alex fought Kaylin in Adelaide and come from behind armbar submission, got fight of the night for that against Kaylin Curran, who's a young Hawaiian fighter who's very athletic, and she won. She fought Emily Kagan. But the thing with Rose is not Paige is in her early 20s, I think. I don't even know if she's 21 yet. And she has the look. The UFC jumped on board. Yeah, they're hyping her. She's in the Faber camp, so Team Alpha Male's in here. You got Rose though, who hasn't had the most beautiful upbringing. She talks about it quite often. She shaves her head for that fight, and Rose is a beautiful girl. Do you see she shaved her head? She's telling you, "I'm bringing my hard ass work. I'm bringing my pill, and I'm beating somebody up today."
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I think it's probably a good thing not to look ahead of people. Actually focus on what's ahead in front of you before you actually focus on what's ahead.
Yeah, it's a very humbling sport. Anybody can win on any given day.
That's what I like about martial arts and boxing, MMA. Styles make fights. Do you know what I mean? Like when you see the roundabout of different people that have beaten, just you can take different fighters that one has lost to the other one loses to another one who the other one beat. Do you know what I mean? There's that roundabout of three different fighters with three different results. Do you know what I mean? I think a good one, I was actually watching a documentary on your friend Kelly Pavlik on the weekend. Yep. And when you think that he got dominated by Bernard Hopkins, he dominated Jermaine Taylor twice, and Jermaine Taylor beat Bernard Hopkins twice. That little circle is just funny how that kind of all ended up.
Kelly fought at 170, not his natural weight, got dominated. And I think the thing with Pavlik was, so Kelly and I grew up together in Youngstown. Youngstown, Ohio is a very rich boxing history city. Yeah. It goes back to, the likes of Boom Boom Mancini and War. Up until 1985, 84, boxing went 15 rounds. Boom Boom fought Dooku Kim 15 rounds. Dooku Kim was a champion. I think he was either from Vietnam or South Korea, and he never woke up. He went unconscious after the 15th round, and he died. Mancini was never the same fighter, but Dooku, that fight changed boxing. Then we have, Ernie Shavers. Ernie Shavers was another champion, fought Ali, so you have Pavlik. I think his camp never, they prepared him to be a champion, but I don't think they prepared him to how to act after he became a champion.
Yeah, I think you're right. But
I think that once again, and it's coaching. You really need to be fortunate enough to be around guys like Winklejohn and Greg Jackson and guys that are doing a lot more mental conditioning, as well as the physical. It's a very important part of a fighter's makeup.
I think sometimes when you get to that highest level, it seems that the coach might be a little bit too scared to tell the fighter at that level what to do anymore. Like, I think it was evident even by the way that Aldo threw that left hook with his right hand nearly, not covering him up or And is that the first time he's ever done that? You know what I mean? Like, you think, those lazy habits that can sometimes come into those big time boxes.
So I thought so. Aldo grabbed the center of the cage. I thought that was going to happen. I was waiting for a leg kick, at least a check or maybe a head kick off the bat. Nothing. He came in so off balance, and McGregor's a counter boxer. That's one of his strengths.
Yeah, very interesting to see, man.
It was, and he's the dude. I don't know if there's been more an efficient striker than McGregor. He throws punches from the most gnarly angles, and usually more times than not, he's connecting the sweet spot. The fight against Poirier, the fight against Mendez, just now against Aldo. He does it time and time again, man. The kid's special.
Yeah, but I know it was early in his career when he lost his 2 fights, but I still want to know who beat him because they must be pretty amazing.
Joe Duffy.
He's
in the UFC now.
Yeah, are they ever going to match him up just for the fact that he's been beaten by them? Or?
Yeah, so Dana brought in Joe Duffy. Joe Duffy's a 155er, and I'm pretty sure he's undefeated.
Yeah, because what was the weight yesterday? 135 or 145?
145.
Yeah, 145. So that's probably his next jump, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's not. I don't think that there's going to be a rematch. I don't think there'll be an Aldo rematch. I think that he's going to fight. I'd love to see the Edgar fight. Yeah. And then.
But I don't think Aldo deserves a rematch because realistically, he didn't really help promote the fight too much. His performance was, I wouldn't say disgraceful. He got caught with a good shot, but I think sometimes you got to earn your rematch. So maybe he's got to go back to the drawing board and maybe take someone else out before Connor gets him a shot because he's the king right now.
Well, look, I think it's rather than Connor's skill set, it's an attribute to the sport of MMA and its evolution. If you look at the fact of you got this, we'll take 2 guys from the same camp who were dominant for almost a decade. We'll take Renan Barão, for instance. Renan Barão, up until a year and a half ago, was the best fighter in the world until Aldo and they were fighting out the same camp. Barão ended up running into a guy like Dillashaw, who his footwork is just something no one's ever seen. Him and Dominic Cruz probably have the best footwork. And Renan Barão has that traditional flat-footed Muay Thai stance, as does Aldo. And I think the sport's evolving in a sense that you have to really be dynamic everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't just be. So that's what I learned from last night.
Yeah, there's a lot of different questions that got answered, but now it's exciting to see who's next. I know they've got UFC 200 coming up, so it'll be interesting to see who they actually match on that card.
Yeah, I'm stoked for the Lawler-Condit fight too.
Yeah, that's the very next pay-per-view, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were gunning for him to go to Melbourne. He's one of your favourite fighters, isn't he?
Yeah, I've been watching Lawler since we were 9. He's my age. He was 19. He's a guy who he's reaching his full potential later on in his career. Became a champion at 32 years old. There's something to that.
There's something about him. He's just got a look about him that just reeks champion. You know what I mean? Like, he gives a lot of good. We were talking about body language before. His body language before a fight just reeks of champion.
Yeah, man. And he's been knocked out before. He was one of these guys that had all this potential, didn't really train real hard in his mid-20s, got cut from the promotion, and rather than hanging him up, he fought all the way back, got rehired to the UFC a couple years ago, and his only loss was, in my opinion, an awful decision to Hendricks, and then he ended up, beating Hendricks. So he salvaged that loss. But yeah, the matchups in the upcoming months going to be awesome, and it's just where the sport's growing. Dana does an excellent job, and I think the more interesting point is going to see where Rogan's going to go, because I've heard, from a couple of different sources that Rogan's contract's coming up, and he really doesn't like the idea that he has to travel at the drop of a dime, and I think it bothers him being on someone else's clock.
Yeah,
because there's so much other stuff going on. So yeah, the UFC, man, they're doing something right.
Yeah, they've definitely taken advantage of them being. They're doing a lot of things that boxing are doing wrong. So, good luck to them. And I think, over the short term, I think I can see them definitely continuing to dominate. In the meantime, Johnny, I've got a question from some of our listeners, man. So, as always, guys, we want your involvement. So, send any questions that you've got through to thevisionboardpodcast@gmail.com. But today's question we've got from Dave from Sydney, and he wants to talk about the different supplements that me and you are using in our daily routines.
Oh, wow. Great question.
Yeah.
Dave. So I get asked this quite often from my clients who see me one-on-one and I'll take you through what my day looks like. I wake up in the morning. My supplements contain water. They contain a mix of, it's a greens supplement, but it's all natural. There's 88 different ingredients in it, everything from chlorella to spirulina to algae. There's berries, there's enzymes and probiotics and an ancient mushroom blend. It's a great company out of the Sydney area called Passion Projects. I like the company because I can order my products over the phone and they'll deliver to my house. So I take that right in the morning, along with a magnesium supplement in a powdered form. So I tell all my clients, do your research on the difference between having compressed tablets and then powder form. And what you'll learn is the powder form is the way to go. But other than the greens, other than the magnesium supplement for stress and recovery, that's about it. I'm not, you know me, I'm not taking protein. I don't supplement intra-workout or post-workout things. I use things that work for me in a natural form, and that's really my push. I like doing that, along with also the preventative measures that I do on a weekly basis, such as acupuncture, sensory deprivation, aka flotation tanks.
Yep.
So I look at where I'm at in my life, I look at natural remedies, and I'm just basically avoiding things that have a lot of unnatural, chemically man-made things in them.
Yeah, I think in the coming episodes we'll touch a little bit more on what you spoke about, the float tanks and meditation, into a little bit more details. But apart from what Jonny mentioned, I also do take magnesium. I think it's a great supplement to put in there. I also take a vitamin C, a vitamin D for us to, just depending on whether you can get out and get enough sun during the day. I think it's just a supplement. Unfortunately, where our gym's based, we're a little bit underground, so we don't always get to see the daylight during the day. At the moment, because of daylight savings, which is awesome, we get out a little bit earlier and we get to see a little bit more sunlight, which does make a huge difference to both your mood and just your mental health, I think. But apart from that, like Jonny did mention, I think getting food from a natural source should be your number one priority. And then from there, depending on your type of day, probably only other supplements I use a whey protein sometimes, depending on the type of day that I'm having, just as a quick way of getting some protein into my system. But it doesn't happen daily. If I can get it from a natural source, I prefer that as your number one method. The only other thing I do take is when I'm lifting heavy, I do take a creatine supplement, not too much, 5 grams a day while I'm actually lifting heavy. What I feel, it just helps your energy stores. It just helps your recovery a little bit better as well. But I think the number one point to take out of that, I think, is really to get it from a natural source. Would you agree with that, Jonny?
Yeah, exactly. Didn't want to go down the 100% route, but I'm going to have to say 110%. And correct me if I'm wrong, but studies have been shown that the only two supplements that actually have been proven to work in studies for strength and muscle is protein and creatine.
Yeah, I
think
that's right.
Are you taking? There's a couple different creatines now on the market. I've seen a creatine hydrochloride for microdosing, and I've seen your traditional creatine monohydrate.
Yeah, I think the one I'm on at the moment is monohydrate, and that's the one I got recommended to me by a couple of coaches. So it is something that I do know works just from personal experience, and I've done a fair bit of reading onto it as well. So that is something I do recommend. Like I said, you can get it from natural stores, like things like steaks and things like that. Beef does have a lot of creatine in it, but sometimes you do, depending on the level of training that you're doing, you do need just a little bit of an extra kicker. But they are the safe supplements that we both do recommend. But in the meantime, Jonny, we've still got Heels for Hope for one more week. This Sunday will be the cutoff week because obviously we need to get the people their shoes. So, guys at home, if you've got any spare shoes or any new shoes you're not using, please get in touch with either myself or Jonny. We can either try and work out where we're going to pick it up from, or you can bring it into the city, Quakers Hill, or at Darling Point in the east. So there's a few different locations for people to get involved there.
I got a couple boxes in my house, so we need to organize that as well. And it's for a great cause. It's for helping people, and even if it's the smallest thing, never underestimate how much a kind gesture could do for someone. So check us out. If you have any questions, send an email to them, events@projectmove.com.au.
That is the address, my man. But it was great to see you. I haven't seen your face for about 4 days, and you haven't been harassing me, so it's been good to catch up for our little hour here, man. So enjoy the rest of your stay in Bali, man. I hope tomorrow's an awesome day as well. But yeah, stay safe and keep traveling, man.
Yeah, it was good to see you too, man. Looking forward to get back home, get realigned, and get back on, my normal track.
Cool, man. A big shout out again to our sponsors, Jackrabbit Slim Barber and the Organic Trainer.
Yep, Organic Trainer, www.theorganictrainer.com for all your exercise and recovery needs. They have an exceptional tea flask, which allows you to put the tea leaves in it. There's a strainer and refill the bottle a couple times. If you're checking out on their website, enter code TheFitCoach to receive 10% off of all orders. And then if you're living in the Sydney area, check out Jackrabbit Slim's Barbershop in King's Cross. Call to set an appointment up. You can find them online and ask to speak with Dre. He'll hook you up if you have beard, you need your beard trimmed, skin fade, or just a nice little high and tight. Check those guys definitely out. That's Jackrabbit Slim's Barbershop.
Yeah, thanks again, guys. But before we leave, last episode we had Ivica Pavlinic coming on. So if you haven't checked out the interview we've done with him, it was pretty awesome stuff. He's an awesome bloke, and he's going places. He's number 48 ranked judo in the world. So if this is your first episode, go back one episode, download that one. Me and Johnny have a lot of fun with him. That was from last week, so it's only been quite recent. So definitely check that out, man.
Yeah, January 16th, he's fighting in Tunisia. His quest for gold, making those Rio Olympics. Ivica Pavlinic, he's the man. Check him out.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, I'm going to leave you, but you have a great time, and I'll see you, I think, Thursday.
Yeah, I'll get home. We'll see if we can catch up for lunch on Wednesday, but either way, I'll give you a call, man.
Yeah, man. Peace.
All right, buddy. Peace.
Later.
The Vision Board Podcast, hosted by Jonny Stofko and Tristan Cannell.